So every time you start, what happens? Yeah, so always ensure that in AWS, be careful about the public IP addresses which you type in your host files, because whenever you restart, they might change. Yeah, that's the reason why, because it might impact our inventory. Yeah. And now with the all statement, let us execute the same command again and let us see whether it works or not. Okay. I just need control machine, right, to start with at least. So I click on connect. It is asking a new entry because the public host name has changed. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Ansible -m ping -i /etc /Ansible /host dot original and all. Okay. At least it has tried, right? It might have failed. Okay. Why do you think it has failed? Okay. What was the step which was required for authentication? SSH copy ID. Copy ID we have done to all the nodes. Did we done to our same machine? No, right? SSH copy ID Ansible @ localhost. Okay. Okay. Now let me execute the same command again. Working? Yeah. Because in the earlier case there was no authentication. Right? Fine. Makes sense. Right? So the failure is whenever you execute an Ansible command, apart from all the command lines, an important section is you need to tell where it has to apply. Okay. So yesterday's our command was this. Okay. Our yesterday's failure was we have not told where to apply. We have done everything, but we are not told where to apply it. So that's the reason why it was failing. Okay. Fine. Not able to see the complete screen. Strange. Okay, is the problem appearing to everyone, or is it only Srinivas who is facing this problem? No issue. I think Srinivas, probably you need to change your resolution. That's it. If no other people are seeing that issue, then probably it might be the issue with your resolution, I think. Yeah. Okay. So now the files where we write entries about the servers or the nodes which we want to connect is called as what? Playbook, right? And then the place where we write entries about our host is called as playbooks. Yeah. Okay. So whenever we deal with inventories, we would be writing just the entries of it. And if you discuss about inventories, there are two kinds of inventories. Okay. Sometimes it might be really difficult for you to write entries. For let us assume that you have thousands of servers. 1000 servers రాయాలంటే కుదురుతుందా? Is it possible? It becomes really unmanageable. So what Ansible does is Ansible has another approach altogether towards it, which is called as dynamic inventories. Okay. So static inventories is where you write down the list, and dynamic inventories is where you give Ansible an executable. Executable can be a Python file or a shell script or any language for that matter. okay, which returns your inventories in JSON format. We'll be discussing about that later, but the whole aspect around it is, rather than writing a static entry, you might give it a link to a program which gives you a list of systems where you need to connect to. For example, in AWS, if you, let us assume that all of our 1,000 servers are in AWS. So you can write AWS CLI or AWS Python code, which basically gets you all of that. Okay, so or you can write a simple shell script which can get you back all the details. So the whole point is, maintaining or writing the list of servers is manageable only until some point, but once it reaches or goes beyond point, for example till 100, let us assume that somehow we can manage it. But what happens if you have more than 100 servers? Okay, every time you have to go through and maintain that list in that and put it in different groups. It is not a manageable task. It becomes highly difficult task. That's the reason it comes up with two kinds of inventories. One is static inventory, the other one is dynamic inventory. Okay, so now let me become a root user and vi/etc ansible hosts. This is static inventory because here I am directly writing the machine names, right? If it is dynamic inventory, I might write a program or a shell script. Remember that. That's the only difference. But the command line doesn't change. Okay, fine. Now what I would do is, let me do this. Only web servers I would copy. Okay, why is it not copying? Fine, it's okay. I can change the inventory file at any moment during execution of any command. So that was the last thing which I was trying yesterday. Ansible, you write -m or whatever it is, and after that, whenever you give -i, this means the inventory file which is not default. Okay, if you don't give -i, it would try to pick the inventories from etc, Ansible, and hosts. Okay, but if you have your inventory in some other place, so what we do is, let us do this. Okay, let me become su Ansible. Okay, let me copy the inventory file from etc Ansible hosts to the home directory of the user. Now I would go to the home directory and I would see ls. Are you seeing hosts? Yeah, I would rename this host to my inventory. Okay, now I want to run this. Okay, only for the sake of convenience, let us remove some entries. Okay, I'll remove all of this junk. It has just Ubuntu, nothing. This is the inventory file which you have written, let us assume, for your own project. Okay, in your own project you are maintaining only this. Okay, so whenever you want to run any command, okay, you need to tell where your inventory file is. Now if I do this, Ansible -m ping all, did I mention about any inventory file? So where will it pick from? Default directory, which is etc Ansible and host file. So let us see that. Fine. The moment I change this command and I give that I have an inventory file which is called as my inventory and I do all, then I should show only two pings, which is only of Ubuntu servers. That's how you change it. Okay, so there is no need for you to always write in etc Ansible host. Have your own inventory files closer to your projects, because at any moment, just by adding one line, you can change it. Okay, make sense, right? And this you can do even when you are writing YML files. Very soon we would start writing YML files, right? So we can do even that. Okay, fine. Now, so Ansible modules. Okay, we have a whole set to, we'll be discussing that, and we'll be writing mostly in basically playbook format itself, but I want to showcase you all the possible modules. Okay, so the way which we are executing right now is called as ad hoc commands. Okay, the problem with this approach is it works very well, there is no problem in that, but if you want to do this work again and again, you have to execute the same command again and again. Okay, but if you write that in a format of a file, you can schedule it whenever you want. That is not possible whenever you do ad hoc commands, or whenever you want to change that command, your change history is not retained. Okay, so even though you have a possibility of ad hoc commands, this we will do only for the maintenance kind of activities. For example, you want to restart all the Ubuntu servers, so you don't write playbook for that. Okay, generally you might write an ad hoc command. Okay, you might write something like ansible -m, and we would search for a module which does restart, and then we would tell what is our inventory file and what is our group where restart has to happen. That's it. Okay, so ansible commands can be executed in two ways. One is like what we are doing the ping right now from the command line. Okay, but that is not what we are paid for. We are paid for writing ansible playbooks, okay, which are YML files. So let us start learning about YML files, and let us come back to these modules. For some of the modules, what we can do is we can execute it as an ad hoc command, also as a playbook file, because you would understand the whole idea about it, how to do it. Fine, make sense? Okay, so shall we learn about YML before getting into the Ansible playbook format, right? Okay. So first of all, YML is not a program. Don't get me wrong there. YML is not a program. A program, it is basically a file format. It is a file format much like an XML file. It is a file format much like a JSON file. Okay. The whole concept of YML is to have human readability as well as machine readability. So there are many YAML validators. You can just go and write the information. So let us check our Ansible knowledge or YAML knowledge in this. Okay. So what I want to write is, I want to write a list of employee details. Okay. So I will start the file with 3 hyphens, and it is what? List of employee details. Each list item starts with hyphen, and here it is an employee detail, and employee detail is like name, test. Okay, all of that. So I would be writing it as name colon test, and then always remember you have to start from same positions. The next field I can't start it from here. YAML is very particular about spacing. Address test1. Okay, and then I would be writing one more entry. I'm not writing phone number because I'm writing multiple entries. So I'd be writing name test2 and address test2. Okay, make sense? So shall we validate it? It is a valid YML. Okay, now if for any reason I do this, it is an invalid YAML. Okay, as I said, YAML is very particular about positions, right? Okay, now for an employee I need to write some more details. Okay, what are those details? Is I need to tell about basically the vehicles which he has. The problem is vehicles are multiple in nature. Antena? Vehicles antna, vehicle antna. It is a kind of a list again. So let us assume that this guy has 2 vehicles. Okay, how can I write about it? Okay, it is an array item, right? And it is a child, or it is a value of vehicles. So value of vehicles, I will start from the place where vehicles is. I would give a hyphen, and then I would call it as, yeah, and probably Okay, and the same thing I would try to do it over here. Okay, and this person might have only one vehicle, which is some. Yeah, are you getting it? The value of vehicles, it has a child, it is a list items. Okay, so let me just see whether it is right or not. Perfect. Yeah, you can complicate it further also. Okay, now what I want to basically do is, to this I want to add basically the courses he has enrolled for. Same logic. Okay, the courses he has enrolled for, but the problem is this time the course which he enrolled will also have to have the course name and the date which he has enrolled. It is not just course's name, it is name of the course and also the date which enrolled. So it means that it has two things to it for the list item. For example, let us assume that this guy is enrolled for DevOps and this guy is enrolled for DevOps and AWS. So courses can be multiple, right? So courses, where should I start it? Courses, I should start it at exactly the same place where name or vehicles have started. So courses, and I can't describe the course in one string, so I have to come to the next line, and here courses are multiple courses, so list item. But the problem is it cannot be described in one word like Maruti or something like that. So it has two things to it. Okay, so I would write something like name of the course, which is DevOps. Okay, and date, probably I'd write some fancy date. Yeah, so and now when it comes to here, yeah, courses. Okay, name AWS. Okay, date. Okay, and this guy has enrolled for multiple courses. So you are getting the whole idea, right? It is simple, but you have to maintain consistency. Yeah, so name DevOps. Okay, fine. So shall we test whether it is valid or not? Yeah, yeah, it is valid. Yeah, you might have not seen any change because in the earlier case also it was valid. But remember, there are certain things which can change the meaning completely. So rather than writing my courses over here, okay, rather than writing my courses over here, if I take two spaces and try to write it over here, it will become a child of vehicles. Okay, your starting point decides what it is. అంటే నా స్టార్టింగ్ పాయింట్ ఇక్కడ ఉంది కాబట్టి అడ్రస్ నేమ్ అండ్ కోర్సెస్ ఆర్ టెల్లింగ్ అబౌట్ ద పర్సన్. బట్ ఇఫ్ ఐ గివ్ two spaces further and probably a hyphen, then the meaning of it might change. It might become a vehicle. అంతే కదా. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఇక్కడ రాయటం మొదలు పెట్టాను అనుకోండి. సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ ఐ రైట్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ దిస్ hyphen courses. So what happens is it becomes a child of vehicle. So always your starting point decides what it is, whether it is a property of the same thing or not. Okay, so very simple stuff. Basically admins, I have basically observed many admins like it over JSON. Okay, so but the whole point is it is much like if you have written any Python program till now, it is much like Python. Even Python is very particular about spaces. So you have to give either two spaces throughout your program or four spaces throughout your program. You can't give two spaces at one place and three places at one place. For example, for the top record I have given two spaces for address, right? Okay, hyphen తర్వాత కింద మూడు స్పేస్లు ఇవ్వకూడదు. It has to be two spaces throughout your file. So you have to maintain consistency. Since it has taken some basics from Python base, it is basically built from the basic background of Python word. So that's the reason. Okay, so shall we write one more file around it, and after that you guys will write one YML file so that we would come to know how good are we in this. Okay. So now what we would write is, what is that everyone knows about? Friday, right? Movie time. Okay. So I want to write a YAML file which stores, okay, basically theaters, okay, probably name of the theater, movies which are running in it, and the show times. Very simple. Okay. This is the YAML file which I want to write, and I am quite sure that everyone understands this. దీంట్లో పెద్ద వింతేం లేదు కదా. మూవీ థియేటర్స్, థియేటర్ నేమ్, మూవీ and show times, and I want to write this information about multiple theaters because probably I want to give it to Book My Show, something like this. Okay. So I would be writing a YML file for that. So YML file starts with what? Right? And then I want to write about multiple theaters. Okay. So I'd be writing something like this. I can basically write something like okay, and give two spaces and start from here, or I can start only theaters. But why I have done this is today my site is booking theaters, tomorrow it might book events and plays also. So even in that case I want my file to work correct. That's the reason. Or else you can just write theater stuff also. Okay. Again here each theater has a name. Okay. So let us write some stuff. Okay. And then what is the other thing? Show times and movies. Okay. Movies are also multiple. So again we would give, basically you can give a hyphen from here, or you can give two spaces and give a hyphen. Both are same. Okay. And then you would be writing about some movies. Okay. Okay. Simple. And then I have show times, but show times is something like movies. It has to start at this exactly same place. I cannot start show time somewhere after this. So show times. Okay. And show times is also an array, a list item, right? So give two spaces, hyphen, okay, and then probably 11, 1, 3, something like this. Okay. And now I'd go to the some other data. So which is two spaces from here. Okay. And then hyphen, name, Inox. You're getting the whole crux of it, right? So that's how we would write it. Movies, C, D, E, and show times. Basically show times are 5, 7, 9. Okay, simple. Now let us see whether it is valid or not. Copy this. There are many YAML validators. You just click Google for the online YAML validator and you would get loads and loads of it. So I'd go over here and so it says it is a valid YAML because I have followed the rules. The rules are you have to maintain consistency. Fine. So there will be many. For example, if you want to convert this YAML to JSON converter online, or YAML to YML conversions, you can do many other stuffs. Okay. So I am quite sure that some of you understand JSON here. Yeah. Only for you guys I'm doing this, but if you don't basically understand it, it's okay. There is nothing to worry about. YAML to JSON. So is our stuff looking right? Okay. How many of you know XML? So this is what we have written. Okay. So the concept is very simple. This is how you design data. Right. But if you know any other format, you can basically refer it to. But CSV, even I have never tried. Let me just check. Man, I don't understand the CSV. It's okay. So this makes sense, and this makes absolute sense. Okay. Now, makes sense now? Yeah. So we have an entries where we have a list item which speaks about hosts, and then host is local, right? And then there is something called as become, and the value of become is yes, and there is something called as roles, and the values of roles are Tomcat and Jenkins. So to understand YAML file, it should be very simple now. Okay. Now take any YAML file and try to read it first. Okay, and then try to write something to it by taking a different use case around it. For example, you can write different mobile apps which you are using and who is its manufacturer. So anything. So this basically gives you a confidence of understanding and reading the YAML also. Okay, fine. And let me show you one more YAML file. Okay, examples, playbooks. Yeah. So by looking at this YAML, this is for all the hosts. Okay, there is something called as become which we don't know. It's okay. Okay, and there is something called as tasks, and there are two tasks. The first task name is install Apache server. For that, he is using a key which is called as yum, and yum has a name which is HTTPD and a state which is present. And if you slightly understand what I have written over there, it is nothing but yum install HTTPD. That is how we are going to write it. Okay, and the next one is ensure Apache server is running. That is the second task, and there I have written something called as service, and the service's name is HTTPD, and the state which I want it to be in is started. And do I want to enable that service? Yes. So for every module we would have some YAML structure which would be writing that as part of task. As simple as that. Right? Fine? Okay. So if I basically try to execute this, it would try to work on every Red Hat machine. Okay, because it is specifically about, there is something specifically about yum. I can't make it work on Ubuntu. So probably in this case, my host would be Red Hat servers. It would not be all. Okay. If I am writing apt, my host would be Ubuntu or Debian. So that's how you write it. But it is readable, right? Playbooks are readable. Yeah. No programming language. This is what you would be writing in Ansible. That's the best part of Ansible. If you remember my first slide, I was telling that there is no programming language because we would be writing this. Make sense? Yeah. So let us just look at one more playbook file. So here he has written multiple tasks. He is just telling host, ping all, yeah, and then present working directory and uninstall tree. Okay. So any playbook you take, you would be seeing that in the format of this structure itself. But remember, you have to follow this. You miss out one space, that would be an error. ఎక్కడన్నా alignment లో ఒక చిన్న space miss చేసిన error వస్తుంది. That's the problem with YAML. So initially try to write some other YAMLs, and anyway playbooks we are going to start it anyway. Okay, are we clear? Yes. Okay. What is yum? Yum is a module like ping. We have used ping, right? And if you see in this example, there is something called as ping. We have used Ansible -yum ping. So that is what this ping is. Similarly, we would have Ansible -yum yum, -yum apt, -yum service. Those are called as Ansible modules which do the actual work, right? And here you will not basically telling the command directly. Okay, only in certain cases you would be telling the command, but in most of the cases what you are doing, you are using a module and you are telling states, you are telling what do you want, right? So that's a whole aspect around.